Christmas is supposed to be about love, about family, about forgiveness. But for me, that night was the beginning of my revenge. My name is Emily Carter, and for 24 years of my life, I believed I had the perfect family. From the outside, we looked untouchable. The Carter family, owners of Carter Enterprises, a multi-million-dollar corporate empire. People admired us. People envied us. We were the American dream. Our house sat on Riverside Drive in Manhattan, a sprawling 4-story townhouse with white marble floors, velvet curtains, and chandeliers that glittered like stars. Neighbors whispered about our expensive cars, our lavish parties, and our vacations in the Hamptons. But what they didn't see was what happened behind those perfect walls. I have a younger brother, Ryan, 2 years younger than me, but for as long as I can remember, he was the sun and I was the shadow. Ryan was born 3 weeks premature, and since that day, my parents treated him like something fragile, something precious, something worth protecting at any cost. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who was expected to manage herself. And I did. Straight A's, volunteered at school, won science fairs, debate competitions, scholarships. Every success I fought tooth and nail for. And yet, no matter what I achieved, Ryan always shined brighter. I still remember the day I won my first science fair at 12. I'd built a working model of a solar-powered water purifier using scraps from the school lab. It took me 3 months of staying up late, cutting wires, burning my fingers on soldering irons, and missing out on sleepovers with friends. I stood on the stage holding my trophy, smiling so hard my cheeks ached. All I could think about was showing it to Mom and Dad. I ran home, burst into the living room, and held the trophy high. "Mom, Dad, look, I won first place!" Mom barely glanced up from her glass of Chardonnay. "That's nice, Emily," she said casually. "But guess what? Ryan's team made it to the soccer finals. Isn't that amazing?" Dad's face lit up instantly. "Ryan, that's incredible, son. Come here." He hugged Ryan tightly while Ryan basked in the praise, smirking. I stood there, frozen, the trophy still in my hand. The words I wanted to say stuck in my throat. When no one noticed, I slipped upstairs to my room and closed the door. I placed the trophy on my desk, sat on my bed, and stared at the ceiling. That was the first time I realized I wasn't special in this house. Years passed and the pattern never changed. When Ryan got a B in math, Dad bought him a new iPhone to cheer him up. When I scored a 4.0 GPA for the 3rd semester in a row, Dad said, "Good job, kiddo," without even looking up from his laptop. When Ryan skipped school and wrecked Dad's Mercedes, Mom cried and said, "He's just stressed, poor thing." When I asked permission to go on a school trip, Mom frowned and said, "We can't afford distractions right now, Emily." I learned to stop expecting anything. By the time I turned 24, I had built my life without them. I worked 2 part-time jobs while putting myself through college. I rented a tiny 1-bedroom apartment uptown. I paid my bills, my loans, my own tuition. I didn't ask for their help. I didn't need it. But deep down, a small part of me still wished, just once, they'd say, "We're proud of you." That small, foolish part of me kept holding on until Christmas Eve. That evening, the Carter townhouse was alive with warmth and laughter. Golden lights glowed on the giant 12-foot Christmas tree in the center of the hall. Crystal ornaments caught the light and scattered it across the marble floors like tiny stars. Guests filled the space, extended family, business partners, old friends. The scent of roasted turkey and mulled wine hung in the air. A pianist played soft carols in the corner while waiters floated by with silver trays of champagne. And me? I stood quietly near the window, watching the snow fall outside. Dad had been hinting for weeks about a special announcement. I'd convinced myself maybe this was it. Maybe this was finally my moment. Halfway through dinner, Dad stood up, tapping his glass gently. The soft chatter in the room died instantly. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is special for our family. We have an announcement to make." Mom smiled brightly and reached over to squeeze Ryan's hand. My stomach twisted. Dad's deep voice carried across the room. "As you all know, Carter Enterprises has had another record-breaking year, and as I look toward the future, I want to secure our legacy." He glanced at Ryan. Then, without hesitation, said, "I am proud to announce that my son, Ryan Carter, will inherit the company, the estate, and the Carter Family Trust." The words crashed into me like ice water. The room erupted in applause, glasses clinked, cheers filled the air, and relatives rushed to congratulate Ryan. Ryan sat there grinning like a king crowned at his coronation. And me? I sat frozen, my fork halfway to my mouth, unable to move. Then Dad added casually, "Of course, Emily has decided to take her own path in life. She's independent, strong, and I know she'll manage just fine." I blinked. My throat grew dry. I hadn't decided anything. They'd decided it for me. My entire future erased. After dinner, I found Mom near the fireplace, her pearl necklace glinting in the light. "Mom," I whispered, trying to steady my voice, "why didn't you tell me?" She didn't even meet my eyes. "Sweetheart, you've always been different. Ryan was born for this. You've got your own life. You'll figure it out." Her words sliced through me like glass. That night, a snow blanketed the streets of Manhattan. I sat by my bedroom window and watched the city lights blur through my tears. Something inside me shifted. If they wanted me out of their lives, I'd give them exactly what they wished for. But they were going to regret it. From that night on, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I planned. I started small, collecting every scrap of information I could about Ryan's finances and Carter Enterprises. Weeks later, I overheard Ryan on the phone bragging to someone about offshore accounts, shell companies, and money no one could ever trace. That was my first clue. For months, I dug deeper, hacking into company archives, cracking passwords, and piecing together transactions no one thought anyone would ever find. What I uncovered was far bigger than I imagined. Carter Enterprises wasn't just wealthy. It was dirty. Millions were being laundered through Orion Ventures, Ryan's offshore hub. Payments to fake vendors, hidden transfers, bribes, political kickbacks. My father's signature was on several documents too. But just when I thought I was ahead, Ryan struck first. Carter Enterprises HR called me one day, asking why I'd transferred $500,000 from the family trust. My jaw dropped. I hadn't touched it. Someone had forged my credentials. Someone wanted me gone, legally ruined. Ryan. I countered. I tracked every digital fingerprint, traced every unauthorized transfer, and stored copies on encrypted drives scattered across multiple servers. By February, I had enough evidence to burn Carter Enterprises to the ground. I leaked everything to the IRS, the FBI, and 3 major news outlets. 2 weeks later, chaos erupted. Headlines screamed, stocks collapsed, reporters swarmed the mansion. Ryan was arrested. My parents' empire, their pride, their everything, gone overnight. I thought it was over. But 1 year later, Ryan showed up at my door. Out of prison, thinner, sharper, colder. He smiled and said softly, "You really think this is over, don't you?" Then he left. Within weeks, my accounts froze, my startup servers crashed, and I received calls from the IRS accusing me of offshore fraud linked to Orion Ventures, Ryan's company. He'd planted backdoors in my systems long ago. He was framing me now. But I wasn't the same Emily anymore. I set a digital trap, Working with a federal crimes agent and my friend Liam, a cybersecurity expert, we baited Ryan into siphoning fake assets into a ghost wallet in my name. The FBI was watching. Ryan was arrested again, this time without bail. I stood on my balcony that Christmas Eve, sipping wine, staring at the Manhattan skyline. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for anyone's approval. I wasn't living in anyone's shadow. I'd survived them. I'd beaten them. But deep down, I knew Ryan's words were true. Some wars never end. For now, though, I was finally free.